Hello everyone. I hope you must be doing good. Today we are going to discuss about Microsoft Azure. Before we start about Azure, let's understand what is cloud. As the name suggests, this is a computing services over the internet, and there are many cloud infra vendors. For example, Microsoft Azure is one of them, Amazon, GCP, Google Cloud Platform, IBM. There are few vendors who have provided these cloud services at this moment. Cloud provide some essential services. For example, this is on demand, which is available as and when required. Broad network access is there. There is a resource pool. This provides rapid elasticity, and these are measured services. So on demand means like I need some resources. They are immediately available as and when I need it, whether it is a capacity, computing. So whatever resource is required, that is immediately available on my demand. This is a measured services because we pay as per the usage. This is metered. So whatever we will use, we will pay only for that much. So there are three type of clouds: public, private, hybrid. Public is built, controlled, and maintained by third party for everyone or anyone. For example, I am a user. I don't have my own data center. I don't need to create my own data center. I can take services from any of the cloud infra vendors whenever I need. So this is public. This is available to public. Private is built by a third party or by self, but dedicatedly controlled by single entity or single consumer. And thus private is expensive as well. For example, I need computing resources. I need to have my own data center. So it's either built by some third party, but this is dedicated for me and this is controlled by me. Hybrid is mix of both, where I have private as well as public. So some of my resources are my own data center. Other resources I'm taking from the cloud. These cloud vendors provide cloud services based on three types. Microsoft Azure offers a wide range of services. We can check this using the resources. Here we can see services are compute, storage, virtual networks, and much more services are offered by Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Azure supports three cloud service models or service types: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. When we talk about infrastructure as a service, majority of the responsibility for managing hardware is with consumer, and it's only the physical security is with the cloud. So when we are talking about cloud infrastructure as a service, so we are taking infrastructure from the cloud to build our environment, but whatever environment we are building there is controlled by us. Instead of purchasing storage of our own, we are taking storage from the cloud vendor. Instead of creating a VM of our own, buying the ESXi hosts and creating a VMware environment, we are taking the VMware virtual machine from the cloud. So majority of the responsibility for data management, for application management is with the consumer. Only the physical security is with cloud vendor. Azure provides virtualized computing resources such as VM, disk, storage, network, but management of the operating system, applications, and middleware is with the consumer. Therefore, majority of the responsibility is with the consumer, and only physical security is with the cloud service provider, that is Microsoft Azure. The other cloud service type is software as a service. Azure provides fully functional software over the internet. Users just access and use that software. Gmail is mail service that is provided by Google. Hotmail, another email service provided by Microsoft, where we have been using software as a service for a long time. So we use their service to store our data. So this is software as a service, where the majority of the responsibility is with the cloud to maintain the infra, to maintain the application, to maintain the software. The only responsibility that comes with the consumer is the data. Consumer is responsible to upload, download, delete, or manage data. Consumer is responsible to manage the access. Who will access this particular data that is on the cloud? If I talk about the corporate use of Microsoft Azure software as a service, we are storing Microsoft Teams or SharePoint, these are hosted on Azure. We are only using them. So we manage the usage. Who all will have access to Microsoft Teams? They are running on cloud environment. They are software as a service. The third type of cloud service is platform as a service. This is somewhere in the middle of both infrastructure and software, where in infrastructure, majority of the responsibility is with consumer. In software as a service, majority of the responsibility is with cloud. Whereas in platform, it is in the middle ground. It's platform as a service. Here, Azure provides a platform allowing its customer to develop, run, and manage applications without dealing with the underlying infrastructure. Be it infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service. These are consumption based. There are hybrid models where consumer is using on-premise resources as well as cloud resources. Azure also provides an option to manage both their on-premise as well as the cloud solution, irrespective of whether it is only Microsoft Azure or it is from GCP or it is from AWS. Basically, multiple cloud platforms and on-premise resources all can be unifiedly managed from single console or from single user interface, that is Azure Arc. To start with Azure, we must know what all tools we can use to work with Azure. For example, this portal address. This is a browser-based application. This is Microsoft Azure portal that allow us to work with Microsoft Azure Cloud. In the portal, we have this Azure CLI or Azure Shell or Cloud Shell. This allow us to manage Microsoft Azure. Then we also have Azure mobile app that can be installed on the mobile. It will work as an application that will give us access to the Microsoft Azure and will allow us to manage or work with the environments. Then we can also use PowerShell in the local system. We can install a module for Azure and we can use the PowerShell in our local system as well to work with Azure. You will need an Azure account. Second is you need a subscription. I am currently using a free subscription to work with Azure. For example, I can go to cost management and billing, and there cost management. There I can go to billing. Under billing, I can check the payment method. You will need one debit or credit card to register yourself with Azure. And then to start a free account, Azure will give you this much balance. It is equivalent to $200. There are three Azure subscription type. One is a free trial subscription that I'm currently using. Second is you can use pay as you go. That is based on your usage, you will be charged. Third is enterprise agreement. This is less costly as compared to pay as you go. Enterprise agreement subscription type can be converted to pay as you go or vice versa. This facilitates single tenant with many subscriptions. Let's go back to the home page. In order to use Azure Cloud Services, to use Azure to create a virtual machine or storage account, we need Azure account, Azure subscription, and then we need to have a resource group created to use resources. So how it will look like, we have a resource group. This is the resource group icon. Under the resource group, we will add virtual network for IP address. Then we will add the network security group for the firewall purpose, inbound, outbound ports. In the network security group, we will create a virtual machine or virtual machine scale set. Now in this lab, I'm going to create a virtual machine using Microsoft Azure. Going to the left portal menu, or I can use a global search bar. Here I can type virtual machine. This is the virtual machine icon. Or I can go to the portal menu and there I can select the virtual machine icon. I can directly click create here, or I can go into the virtual machine panel. In this panel, I can click create option there. Here also you have, and here in the top bar, you have the create option. Now we are going to use the create button to create the virtual machine. We'll select Azure Virtual Machine. This option is good when we are creating standalone VM. If you plan to create multiple virtual machines, then you may use Virtual Machine Scale Set VMSS option. Select this option. As we discussed earlier, we need to have Azure subscription and we must have a resource group. Here we have only one subscription, which is free subscription. Either I can use an existing resource group or I can create a new resource group. For this lab, I'm using an existing resource group demo lab. There are few key factors that decide whether you should use an existing resource group or you should create a new resource group. For example, if the resources, whether it is a virtual machine, it's a SQL database, it is an application, it is a storage account, whether these resources will have the same life cycle, they will be created together and they will be decommissioned or deleted together, you can put them in the same resource group. It also depends when your resources are part of the same application or solution. If they are part of the same solution or same application, they can be put together or clubbed together in the same resource group. For example, in this demo lab, these resources that we are going to create will be used for testing for demo purpose. They can be clubbed together in the same resource group. If resources are for different projects, one is ERP, other is OSS, data lake, different projects are there, then you should use or you may use different resource groups. One is production, other is non-production. Your access also decides. For example, if the same team or users need access to the resources, then you might prefer to keep them under the same resource group. If you want to assign different permission to different users for security or compliance purposes, then you might use a different resource group for each component. Different resource groups also makes it easier to track cost based on each project. If you will keep all your projects in same resource group, it may be difficult to track the cost. When budgets or other constraints are there, then you might prefer to use different resource group for your resources. Also, you should use different or a new resource group for your resources if you want to apply different policies such as restricting a VM size in specific regions. When you are using different policies for different resources, you should also choose different resource group or a new resource group. Here we are using it for testing, we are using it for demo. So I will use an existing resource group that is created specifically for demo. We have selected the Azure free subscription here. We selected the resource group, that is the previously created resource group. We are using the same resource group for the resources that are being used for the demo lab purpose. A name is to be given for the virtual machine that we are creating. We are creating a virtual machine instance. What name we want to assign this VM demo? The information says virtual machine in Azure have two distinct names. Virtual machine name used as the Azure resource identifier and in guest host name. When you create a VM in the portal, the same name is used for both the virtual machine name and the host name. The virtual machine name cannot be changed after the VM is created. You can change the host name when you log on into the virtual machine. Now, region. Azure region is basically a Microsoft Azure data center. So it says choose the Azure region that's right for you and your customers. Not all VM sizes are available in all regions. There is a complete list of Azure regions. Let's try and access the world map where we have those regions. So this is the one where it shows Microsoft Azure has data centers in which all areas. We will discuss this map a little later. It shows like where all these data centers are present in the world. Name of the virtual machine, I have given it as VM demo. You need to choose Azure region. Azure region is Microsoft Azure data center. In which data center you want to create your virtual machine instance. There is a huge list of data centers which is available with Microsoft Azure. You can choose the data center based on your customer need or customer environment where your other resources are. Preferably, we should create our resources in the same region. Selecting the right region when we are creating Azure resources is important and critical for performance, compliance, cost efficiency, and high availability purpose. So we should choose a region closest to the application or the user infrastructure or user environment. Select a region that complies with your organization or country's data policies or data sovereignty laws. I'm selecting region East US. Availability options. You want any replication for your virtual machine, any protection, redundancy for your virtual machine. There are many options. Right now we are selecting no infrastructure redundancy required. There is availability zone, virtual machine scale set, and availability set. These three options are there for the virtual machine availability to provide redundancy across multiple data centers, across same region or multiple regions. But we don't want that right now. Security type, we are using trusted launch virtual machine security. We usually see two options when we are selecting a security type. Here we may see three now. Before that, let's see what is security says. Security type refers to the different security features available for a virtual machine. Security features like trusted launch and confidential virtual machine helps to improve the security of Azure Generation 2 virtual machines. However, additional security features have some limitations, which include not supporting backup, managed disks, and ephemeral OS disks. These are few limitations for the trusted and confidential. There are three security types which are available: standard, trusted, and confidential. Trusted launch virtual machine. This is a security chip used to secure your sensitive data on the virtual machine. Trusted platform module is part of the trusted launch feature, which adds enhanced protection at the hardware level. Select trusted launch, which image you want to install on this virtual machine. Either you can use an Azure image. There is a repository list of images that are available with Microsoft Azure, or you can use a custom image that is provided by the customer. To use a custom image, you should upload that custom image in the Microsoft Vault, and then you will be able to use that custom image while creating a virtual machine with Azure. Right now, we are using an image that is from Microsoft Azure. So let's see what all images are there. See all images. You will find ample list of images with Microsoft Azure. If I'm not mistaken, around approx 700 more pages are there. 697 pages are there. Each page is giving you a huge list. So if I check the last page, see, so each page is giving me around 8 to 9 images, and there are around 697 pages of images. I will select Windows Server 2025 Azure Edition. So this is still loading. It's now selected. So this is compatible with trusted platform. And then the hardware architecture, VM architecture, choice of x64 or ARM64 based virtual machine to run your applications. So ARM64 is not available for this particular OS image. So let's continue with x64. Size, how much CPU, how much memory you want. I'm selecting two vCPUs and 16 GB of memory. The billing is $159 per month if I use this virtual machine for a month, then I will be billed this much. I'm not enabling hibernation. Select a username and a password. Username is not case sensitive, easy admin, and select a password. So this username and a password is required or will be required to log in your virtual machine once the virtual machine is created. Select inbound port rules. Inbound port rules, RDP, select inbound port 3389. To be able to access your server, you should select the RDP port 3389. This will allow access to your virtual machine over the internet. Okay, so this is the last option for this particular section. There are more sections. If you look at the top, basic, disks, networking, management, there are many sections. We will not be going through each section, or we will not be making changes in each section. Go to next. Encryption at host. This is usually available when you are using the pay-as-you-go or enterprise agreement. This is not available because I'm using the free trial subscription. So it's okay. OS disk size. If I would have selected maybe any other OS, then the disk size may be smaller. Right now, it is showing me 127 GB or 128 GB or more options, like what OS disk size you need. The default is for Windows 2025, you need minimum 127 GB of disk space. So let's keep it selected at default. OS disk type, whether you need SSD, HDD, premium SSD, standard SSD, standard HDD. These are the disk tiers. Learning about cloud, I understand you already know about the basic disk tier technology. Normal hard drive 10,000 RPM, 15,000 RPM, right? Or solid state drives, which are also using the flash inside them, but they are using the form factor of the SAS disk. Then you have the flash drives, NVMe modules, so those things, premium. Delete with the VM. What used to happen was when we delete a VM in Azure, the VM doesn't delete the associated disk or public IP. So we first need to disassociate and delete the disk or the public IP that are given to the VM. Or to ensure this gets deleted with the VM itself so that you are not billed later for the disk, you select delete with the VM. So the disk will automatically get deleted when the VM is deleted. You select this option. Ensure you select this option. Key management. Data is encrypted by default. If you look at the previous screen, for example, the trusted launch virtual machine security feature, this is providing hardware level encryption. When we are talking about encryption, there is a key to decrypt and encrypt the data. These keys are managed either by Azure or by customer or both by Azure and the customer. A disk encryption set stores the customer key that a disk or snapshot will use for encrypting its data. You must choose an existing disk encryption set during this setup. This encryption set requires access to key vault and keys. Basically, if you are using customer provided key, then that key must be uploaded to the key vault. For example, if customer is providing an OS image, customized OS image with their logo, then that OS image be uploaded to the Azure vault for the OS repository, customized OS image. Similarly, if you are using your own encryption key provided by the customer, then that key must also be uploaded to the key vault. Or you can choose to have platform managed key provided by Azure. Platform managed key are encryption keys that are generated, stored, and managed entirely by Azure. There are two types of keys. One key is managed by Azure, provided by Azure, and controlled by Azure. Other key is customer provided. In order to be able to use a customer provided key, it should be uploaded to the key vault. So we will continue with the platform managed key. The option customer managed key is grayed out because there is no key that has been provided by the customer here. Enable Ultra Disk compatibility. Ultra Disk is high performance disk. Ultra is superior. It is providing you higher throughput, higher bandwidth, low latency. It's like a flash. It is supported in availability zones 1 to 3 for the selected VM size data disk for VM demo. We have used the OS disk. Do you want to create a data disk as well? Another drive other than your C drive? Or if there is already any other disk, you can use that disk using this option, attach an existing disk. When creating a VM, this is my boot media, this is my boot disk, and then I can also add a data disk. which I don't want right now. We are using the free trial subscription. I'm continuing with the basic options right now. We will discuss about the managed disk, unmanaged disk in later scenarios. Continuing with the networking part. Now we are talking about virtual network. Remember this resource group. Under that resource group, we have a virtual network. Under that virtual network, we have a network security group. We create our virtual machines or virtual machine scale set in this network security group. We are creating a virtual machine. In order to create a virtual machine, now what do we need? We need a virtual network and the network security group. Virtual network will provide me the IP address, subnet. The network security group will provide me the firewall feature, security. Let's go back. Let's click create new. Name of the virtual network, it's VNet demo, and this is for the VM purpose. Which IP range you want to use for your virtual machine network. When you are using a network in Azure, Azure virtual network will restrict the access for the 5 IP addresses. Starting with 0 up till 3, the first 4 IP addresses and the last broadcast IP. You cannot use these 5 IP addresses. Rest IP addresses you can use. Let's use subnet name demo subnet and the IP is, so I'm gonna use this subnet. This subnet allows 256 addresses. This is /24 subnet. You can check subnet classes and there you will find which subnet supports how many addresses. For example, if I use 27, this will give me only 32 addresses. I'm using 24. This is giving me 256 addresses. Basically, 256 IP addresses can be created. But these 256 is not the exact number. I cannot use the first 4 and the last broadcast IP. So it leaves me with 251 IP addresses. So I will use this subnet, okay. VNet demo VM, network interface card, network security group, NSG. We say advanced. So let me create NSG dash demo VM. I'm creating a network security group. Here I can create inbound rule, outbound rule. Here it is. I can specify my inbound and outbound rules. I'm not doing it right now. I'll just create a network security group for my virtual machine. NSG demo VM, VNet demo VM, and it will automatically assign the IP. Delete public IP and network interface card when VM is deleted. Select yes. Because I'm doing it for the lab purpose. You have to choose this consciously, like what is your requirement. If you need that public IP to be used later, you don't need to delete that. I'm deleting it because I don't want to be billed later for this. When I delete my virtual machine, the IP is still there and not deleted. I don't want that. I'm selecting delete public IP when VM is deleted. We will discuss about load balancing a little later, continuing with the default options. We will not be changing everything. Some of the options we will leave at default for now. Enable basic plan for free identity. We are not gonna change here anything. Monitoring also we will not change anything. Nothing in the advanced tab. What are tags? In Azure, tags are name value pair that you can assign to Azure resources to help organize, categorize, and manage these resources effectively. These are some resources. I can assign them tags and a value to manage these later. These are kind of metadata that doesn't affect how my resource will work or behave, but it helps with cost tracking, governance, reporting. It helps with automation. For example, I can create a tag project and this is demo prod. I can create this tag and apply this tag on my resources, and then I'll get to know like these resources are for which environment. Next, Review your configuration. 0.2180 USD per hour based on your selections. This is the cost for your virtual machine that you are creating. It is currently running the validation. It will validate the configuration that I have selected for the VM on Azure. Once the validation completes, it will allow me to create that virtual machine. I'm waiting for the validation to complete. Validation passed. By clicking Create, I agree to the legal terms and privacy statement associated with the marketplace offering listed above. These offerings authorize Microsoft to bill my current payment method for the fees associated for the offering with the same billing frequency as my Azure subscription. Right now, I have credit in my Azure wallet. This is my subscription. This is my resource group name, virtual machine, region, availability options. So what all options I had selected, all will be here. So one tag for each resource. I click create. The virtual machine is getting created. Initializing deployment. So these are some basic process that are done for every action that is taken in Azure. Deployment in progress page is there. Deployment details right now not appearing. Once the deployment completes, it will show us the deployment detail as well. All resources are created. Network security group is created. IP is created. Virtual network is created. Virtual machine is created. And if I expand this, we'll get to see network interface, public IP address, virtual network. These all resources are being created. VM is being created now. Once the VM is created, it will be given a public IP address because we opted for one. And the credentials that we created while creating the virtual machine, we should be able to access that virtual machine over the internet using those credentials. Deployment succeeded. We received deployment initiated, deployment in progress, deployment completed. We get notified for each status. We can also see that status using this notification panel. Some of the amount for my wallet is used. Let me go to the home, access the virtual machine. VM demo is the name of the virtual machine that I had created. Accessing the virtual machine details. This is the public IP. Let's copy and let's use this IP to access the virtual machine. Now this virtual machine that I just created is on the Azure. I'm entering the IP address of that virtual machine. This IP address is assigned by Azure. This is a public IP that is given by Azure. Let me connect. Provide the username and the password. I hope I'm entering the correct password. And this will take me to the virtual machine. I just created a virtual machine using Azure. So I just maximize the RDP, setting up your system for the first time. Let's accept. Okay, let's close this. Server manager is open. Let's close this. And this is the desktop of your Windows Server 2025. File Explorer. This PC. C drive is 126 GB. Temporary storage is 30 GB. Actually, let me access the server manager again. I don't want this. Computer name is VM demo. I can click this option and add this server to the AD. Installed RAM is 16 GB. Total disk space is 158 GB. Thank you. Let's meet in the next session soon. Take care.